Thank you for tuning into the Pre-Patch Podcast, and check out these patch notes. So, Sin,
Sin.
what's your opinion on it, buddy?
You've been waiting ever so, just pleasantly.
yeah. Hey, look, I don't want to. I'm not gonna crush anyone's good time. So I booted up the game last night. If you guys were in my stream, you saw me play it. And
How long have you played?
Not long enough. I mean, I'm gonna be very brutally honest. I've watched a lot of content, streams, all this other kind of stuff. Have played up to the point of getting off of the initial whatever planet, mind, world thing that you're on, and then getting into the ship and fucking around with that. And then I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And so
I deal with it anymore.
I turned it off.
Couldn't deal with what in particular?
Hold on. I'm gonna get to it. Let me go through my story, and then
we got you, bud.
We'll go there. So
story.
He's got a whole story for like 40 minutes of gameplay.
Now, this is a story all about
I went to bed.
I turned upside down.
I literally got off and said I'm done, and I uninstalled the game.
You can't talk about that on YouTube.
Huh?
We can't talk about what?
Can't talk about what?
Going to bed and getting
Enigma
off.
got it.
Oh, anyway. Oh, God, getting off. Yeah, no.
Oh,
I did that before the show too. Anyway, so
it was in space.
I uninstalled the game, and that was it. And then I booted up No Man's Sky and went and played, in my opinion, a better Starfield. Now, I woke up this morning and sat through and really took some time to kind of like look over everything that I didn't like and what was it about the game that just kind of really turned me off. And what I have kind of come to the understanding of or agreeance of is that if you like Bethesda games and you like Fallout and you like Oblivion or you like Skyrim or you like those style of games, then yes, this game is for you. This is a Skyrim or Oblivion in space. What I think is unfair is that people are judging this game on a lot of things where you're asking a company to change its direction from what it does over and over and over again. That's like saying that you expect World of Warcraft, like for them not to be World of Warcraft, right? Like they're gonna be something completely different and whatever else. Or you're asking Madden to stop doing Madden and start doing something different. So I think that like the argument that people have of being like, well, this is a game that should be pushing the boundaries or be all of these things that it shouldn't, that are something very different, I think is wrong to say, because I think that, again, it's a Bethesda game. It's going to play like a Bethesda game. It's going to act like a Bethesda game. It's a Bethesda game. Like, you're going to get what Bethesda does. They're going to continue to do what they do well.
Yeah.
Where I have issues with it is that, and I do think that then if you're going to argue, if that's the argue point that I think that is the right argue point to stand on, I also think that argument can also be taken the exact same way of saying like, okay, cool. Like, by saying like, oh, that's Bethesda jank, that doesn't warrant it. I don't think that's an okay statement to say like, oh, it's just Bethesda jank, so we're going to overlook it. Like the fact that, the creation engine is 20,
or the statement that mods will fix it.
Right. Like, I think that is
it's no excuse. I mean,
no, it's not. And
that's what I was about to say. I don't think that either me or Scruffy.
No.
Are, like,
I'm not saying you guys. I'm saying that the overarching.
I'm just putting it out there that like whenever me and Scruffy say that, like we're.
No,
by no means.
I know.
By no means, we're not excusing them.
No, I mean,
I know at this point with this many releases, what to expect going into these games.
And here's the sad thing, and this is where I think that the company and the game does deserve to have points docked. Like, I think that Bethesda knows that. I think Bethesda knows that they can be like, oh, well, we can release this game and modders will fix it.
That's why. that's why they released 76 in the state that it was released in, was because they were just like, well, people will accept it because it's a Fallout game.
And
what else are you gonna do? You know?
Also
they've owned into it too, just because they've released the creation engine in past games, and they stated that they're coming out with a creation engine in this game in about a year or so, and they're going to come out with a big bang because they said we know how much you guys love mods.
Yeah, but that's here's the thing.
They're gonna come out with a big bang space jokes.
That's still to me. I think call them to their shit, like call them to their rug, because we would do that with anybody else. We have done that with Sony games, with Nintendo games, and everybody else. Like, I think it's unfair to sit here and go, oh well, we know that you guys love mods. Wink. It's like, no, we like fixing. We know that we can release this. We want
a full game,
right? Yeah. Kind of thing. And also too, I think that a lot of it has to do with, like, they know that they came off of, like, at this point, the coming off of 76. They had nothing else other than a home run to be able to hit. As long as the game was functional, worked, and was decent enough, like it. Well, I think that they looked.
That was that was my limitation. Like, going into this, I was just like, hey man, if I can get anything better than 76, I'll be fucking happy. At this point,
And I think that, like,
I think that was a lot of people.
I think that because of that, like, a lot of people are giving this game some leeways. And where, for me, my statement point has been this the entire time, is that in a post cyberpunk post, and not, let me rephrase this too, because I've heard this and people immediately lean in and go, cyberpunk was a buggy piece of shit mess, busted garbage ass game when it first launched or whatever else. And I get that, but the overarching feeling of cyberpunk, when I mean from, like, a world perspective, or like what I felt when I booted in or played into Starfield, like, I was very compelled in the world. Like, if I shot around somebody, I felt that world, feel it and live it. In this game, I actually mentioned that to you, Scruffy. Like, when you were playing, I was like, hey, pop a shot next to that dude's foot. We even
tested it out. Yeah.
And nobody is going to move. Right. But no yet, if you, like, they don't care. There's not even a jump, a stutter, a scream, nothing. Like, it's immersion breaking, and it doesn't feel good. So in a game of in a world of post cyberpunk, and also, it's impossible to take this game and not compare it to No Man's Sky, because they are both, space games, exploration games, space, whatever you want to call them. Like, it is going to be compared to that. And so I think when you sit here, and it's hard to look at and play this and play No Man's Sky after having played No Man's Sky and be like, well, I can go from planet to planet without having to have load screens. I can I don't know how, like, the engine, the space flying stuff, to me, was atrocious. I hated fucking flying in this game. Like, I
can't blame you. It's okay. It's very bare bones.
This
at
idea,
least from what I've experienced so far, I don't know.
Like, this idea of, like, me having to sit there and try to go from, like, okay, I need to focus on what's happening, but I need to lower my grav shields, but I need to raise my missiles, but I need to move this engine down, or I need to move, like, in the middle of trying to fight, on top of the way that I move feels very clunky, because I have to push my reticle all the way to the side, and it will track. And in the very, like, the small amount of time that I played, the very first thing when you're getting trained on how to fly, like, no matter what I did, it was almost so impossible to try to catch up to this one dude, that, like, and I don't know why, like, he just, no matter if I slowed down, sped up, shifted, boosted, anything, like, he was always outside of my reticle zone. And then trying to lock on, it's a cool concept, but in the middle of a fight, trying to lock on, switch where my navigation over, or, like, switch over to what system do I want to fire on, then trying to manage how many missiles do I have, how many lasers do I have. Like, I get the point of it, but at the same time, in this statement, in this argument, you said, like, this is not a space sim, but that's trying to be a space sim. Like, you're trying to go in a direction that's space sim, because you're making me manage all of these different things, but yet it does.
If I may comment,
yeah, go ahead.
I feel like it's not forcing you to manage that much, because honestly, you can play with it very basically. Like, I just, for that intro, I just stood in one place and moved my mouse up to where they were, and I didn't touch the grav stuff or anything down there. I just shot the shields down with the lasers, then pummeled them with artillery and missiles, and that pretty much did the job. I didn't take it like I have to boost to them and boost this way and that way. And I think maybe
I did what the game was telling me to do. I mean, I was literally being told
is
what I
the
was.
game was telling you to.
Right,
They
so
were being like, turn this down.
exactly.
And turn that up,
I'm going to do what the
but
game is telling me to do, and that's my first interaction into your space
that's
line.
fair.
And that's not like it's not a good feeling. It doesn't feel as smooth as if
I see what you mean with saying that they are trying to be kind of a space sim. But the
like
fact is they're just not.
But they're not. Like
they're not.
You know, and I also like I absolutely cannot stand the UI. Not this what you're seeing on screen right now, but like the inventory UI system. I fucking hate it. I hate it with a fucking passion.
And again to
I know,
bounce off the mods.
I get it,
boom,
but like
no, I'm saying it because that's just how it is, man.
But again, I think
fix
that
everything.
So I think that these are all
hysterical
fair.
that they launched with all that, knowing that modders were gonna fix it.
Yeah, the better Pit Boy mod.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
that's how Bethesda's always been, man. Like they just know that the modders will fix whatever blunders they have. It's ridiculous.
I can't disagree. Yeah, I can't disagree with you guys in saying like it's a scapegoat, you know, to be almost have a lazy development in certain aspects because they do know that modders are going to fix it.
Well, it's an extremely lazy development. They didn't even do the bare essentials on some of the aspects.
You could tell that it was lazy development straight from the start screen, right? So
yeah, right.
But I think that what I'll say about from a positive standpoint is what I do love about this, and this is something that Bethesda has always, I think, had a magical way of getting it done, but has been limited by their resources. And it seems like in this, there's a lot more resources to be able to play around with, is just the sheer like playground that you kind of get to be in and do. Like you can kind of solve things the way you want, right? Like I watched a video where a dude was like, I can't get through this door. And I love games that give me the ability of like, if I think I can do it, I can do it. So he took out his laser cutter and was like, fuck this, and blew the bolts off the door. The door fell down. He walked through it. Great. That's amazing. Like kudos, right, for those things. But overarching, like to me, and again, I don't want to speak on the story, but because I haven't played enough of it to even experience any of it. Like, but from what I have watched, like it's just so story. Not well, yeah, but even from what I've watched, like it's still like well, that's not a joke. I mean, it like I knew going into this who I was.
I know.
I wanted to play enough of it to at least give opinion about what I've played. And it just
from what I've heard about the story, and I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything like that, but from what I've heard about the story, it's a pretty standard like Fallout 4 story, right? Like if you played through Fallout 4 and you didn't do any of the side quests or anything like that, Fallout 4's story was extremely fucking boring and very swift. It was very quick, right? And from what I understand, this game's story
it's only like about 18 hours.
If that, yeah.
That's what
the thing. The weird thing that I have with this one is like, so when it released into early access, a lot of people were saying, you know, oh, push and New Game Plus, NG Plus, right? Push NG Plus, push NG Plus, push NG Plus as quickly as you can, because apparently once you finish the story and you get into New Game Plus, the game turns into almost like a roguelike, right? So when you finish your New Game Plus, things get removed from you, but you still have like your skills and your abilities. But like there's almost like some kind of a randomness or like an RNG to the world. Certain things happen inside of the world that weren't there in the previous iteration, right?
That's kind of cool.
And I was watching I think it was Co Carnage was talking about it in the spoiler free like video. Because I've been hearing, you know, New Game Plus. You got to do it. You got to rush it. And that's not what this game is about. Like, that's not what Bethesda games have ever been about, right? Like, it's always been do what you want, follow storylines, follow side quests, get lost in the game, right? But for them to be like so focused on New Game Plus was just very interesting to me. But yeah, apparently it has like. And I've seen somebody that's done like New Game Plus like 16 times, and every time there's like a new thing on every one of his New Game Pluses. That's part of that, and I don't know what exactly they mean necessarily by like RNG or things that are new or
like
different.
Random encounters.
Yeah,
I assume like
I don't know what exactly they mean by that, but it just seems like a weird thing for them to push considering who they are,
Yeah, I
right?
hadn't even heard of that. That's very
Yeah.
interesting.
That points out a couple things I do want to point out while we're sitting here watching this. So one of the other things that I don't like about the game, and I mean, to be fair, I've never liked any of the Fallout shooting. I don't feel like the shooting is good. Like I think it handles fine, but I don't feel like there is no
there's
like
not much
It's not going to be an F.
It's
Yeah,
it's
well, no,
20-year-old
I don't
shooting.
mention that when I was playing.
I don't want an FPS, but like I do want, again, when I say like a post cyberpunk, like those weapons you had.
It's so
feel,
funny because
you had
everything that
oomph.
you comment on is everything that I've fixed in like Fallout 4
Modding,
mods.
yeah.
Right, which is
That's 'cause
I was about to
installed
say,
a
I was about to say,
gunshot
look at
and reverberation mod for Fallout 4
Look
because
at-
I'm like, dude, they're guns. They feel so weak.
look at what our look at what our boy Bite does
Yeah.
on like a daily
Legit,
basis. He
Yeah,
plays
I mean,
like
Fallout 4 into
Frost.
Stalker, man. I mean,
Like and
yeah,
you know, this all points to
It's-
what I again, I ultimately, and again, I am not rating the game on mods. I'm rating the game solely as the game is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. Which you should.
I think
exactly. You should. That's where the base like standard is. You should rate the game on that.
I think that the game, honestly, like, I think it would have done better, 100% if it would have not said like, and I know Bethesda's never going to do it, but just been like, hey, there's like, that's one of the special things about No Man's Sky, and I think just in general in space, because space in its own way is such an interesting play. Like it's just such an interesting like concept of like it's space. I can go where I want, do what I can become, what I want to become already. I don't need and you're gonna yell at me about being a story guy. I don't need I don't need a story. Drop me in and just be like, hey, you're a miner. You touch this fucking thing. All of a sudden, your memory's erased. Now go experience the world. Like
if you're gonna say that, then you might as well just not play Bethesda stories because that's what they do.
I know, but what I'm saying is I think that the game would have done better. I'm not knocking them for doing that. I'm just saying I think that the game would have been a better overall experience.
Then you're moving into what you had said earlier, where you're asking Bethesda to do something that they've never done.
Again, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that what they did was wrong. I'm just saying that in from my experience in space, like and watching people play this, where people are complaining in it, and again, I'm not saying that they should have done it or that I'm docking it points for it. I'm just saying that I think it would have been a better experience of being like, hey, here's the intro. Now go do whatever the fuck it is that you want to do. Like there's no overarching story.
You can though,
right?
You're not forced into the story.
I know you're not. I know you're not forced.
You're started into it, but then you can do whatever you want.
But one of the things that draws people in to games like No Man's Sky or whatever else, and is because there is that exploratory, like, oh my god, I can do whatever I want. There's no shackles. Right, you're not. The universe itself, the world is the main character, and I think that that's where this kind of gets lost because the world, and from what I've watched, doesn't seem like the main character. Again, you are, and again, I know this is a Bethesda thing, so I'm not going to dock it. What I'll say is that I don't think that the game deserves like a lot. Like Quinn and all these guys are fucking ranting and raving and just shitting on the game, you know, left and right about like all of this stuff and that the Bethesda should have learned and these kind of things. Here's what I'll say. I think, again, if you're a Bethesda fan and you like Bethesda style games, this is more Bethesda. It's just Bethesda in space. Yeah. It's Bethesda in space. And it does
definitely Oblivion. Like you mentioned, like it's got that old Bethesda feel to it.
I think the biggest issue that people had going into this is it was kind of along the same lines of like Cyberpunk 2077, right? They hyped it up. They kind of looked at it and were like, "Oh, this is gonna be a space sim. This is gonna be a space sim. Like it's 100%. It's in space."
Which is the fault of Todd Howard.
Which is the fault of Todd Howard for sure. He did kind of push for that. He did kind of push and be like, "This is the ultimate space sim that we can make," essentially.
He's just got such a big mouth.
Yeah, that is a huge deal with Todd Howard. Is he's always been that way, man. It's 76, Fallout 4, Fallout 3. Every one of them he is hyped up, and you know you can say the same thing about Sean Murray as well. Like when he first released, you know, it's just a terrible thing to hype up a game that much and then not be able to deliver it. But what was I trying to say?
I mean,
I feel like people just they took their own interpretation of what the game was going to be and made that a canon. And then when it didn't actually happen the way that they wanted it to, they blamed the company for essentially their own their own interpretation
that's such
of what the game is
standard
going to be.
in gaming nowadays too. And I think that's exactly right too, because like I said, I went into this game just expecting Fallout 4 in space.
Same.
And that's
I mean, this is
pretty much what we got.
This is what I've been saying for the last couple of months, almost to a year now. Like, I am so sick and tired of the world that we live in gamers in this space, where if it's not 100% perfect, like to a T, every line dotted, every I line, whatever, you know what the fuck I'm trying to say, everything being like perfect, then they shit on it, and they just shit on it, and they just this ideology. Not saying that there's not stuff in this game that are wrong, but like
there's not. Yeah, there's 100% stuff that's wrong in this game.
You've
and
got Sony people that are yelling.
Off.
You've got Xbox people that are like defending. You've got people that have no rhyme or reason to shit on a game, shitting on it. You have other people that are defending it, and it skews everything. And here's what I'll say: this is another great example of why I do like something like Game Pass. Go try it out. Like, if you don't like it, then don't buy it. If you do like it, buy it and enjoy the shit out of it and love it. Right? I think from a
and
rating,
on just to piggyback off that, if you put 25 hours into it and refund it, you're a fucking scumbag. So
I think that's also a really shitty thing to do.
So many people did that.
Like,
so many people did that.
I think that's a shitty thing to do, and
you can blame Steam and Valve for that, because that's the way that their policy works. If any game is in early access before it's fully released, you're able to refund it.
That's longer than the main story lasts, dude. They played through the entire main story and then said, "Nah, I'm gonna get my money back."
Crazy,
and then rebought it for a lower price. If I'm sure some people did that because you know, why not?
Like, again, I think I think that this, and then that's what gets traction, and then it gets reactionary content. And I mean, for God's sake, there was a thing that went live that and we talked about this on the show. Let me tell you something. If you're not listening to our show and like actually like paying attention to what the fuck we say, I'm telling you, we are gurus. We know what we're talking about. We've been in this industry for a long time. We talked about the fact that content is becoming reactionary to reactionary to reactionary to reactionary to reactionary. One of Asmongold's thing, literally, he was watching someone react to someone else's reaction of his being reacting to someone else reacting to him reacting, and it was like 7 reaction screens, and it's just like that. And again, someone like Quinn puts something out that is about, Bethesda, what he doesn't like, and he shows that he's refunding it and makes viral content, and everybody reacts to it. It plummets the score. Like, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that this game deserves fucking 80s, 90s. Anybody giving it 100, I think, that's a little crazy. Like, me personally, if I had to give it a score, I'd put a 73 on it. Like, I think 73 in my mind.
That's pretty.
You can't say that, because the Xbox community will tear you apart.
I don't care. Come out. Hey, all you got. Look, I don't care. Put comments down below. You don't like me? Put comments down below.
That was one of the weirdest
you better
things
not
that
work
I
for
saw
Sony, or I'm
transpire
gonna write a message saying that you should get fired soon.
That was one of the weirdest things I saw transpire from this, was the IGN USA 7 out of 10 and the PC Gamer 7 out of 10. Just getting eviscerated by the Xbox community because they didn't feel like it was justified, and that IGN USA and PC Gamer were purposefully bringing the score down because it's an Xbox game, and
oh my
yada,
god,
yada, yada.
No, I'm giving it a 73 because I don't think that the game deserves to be anything really higher than that. Like, I think it is an okay game. Like, for me,
what happened to the day where a 7 was like
fine,
good? Like,
good,
decent,
right? Yeah.
Unless it's a 9 or up, people lose their fucking minds these days.
I even like the game, and I'd give it like a high 7 too. Like, I'd give it like a 79, and that's comparable to Sin, and he doesn't even like the game that much.
Yeah,
but like, the game's not bad. Like, it's just okay.
So that's why I said I'm gonna save it for the show. That's why, because I knew that you guys were gonna think that I was gonna come in here and try to rip it to shreds, and I really wasn't.
I was hoping for spicier, man.
I came in. Can you give us some spice? Like, I'm kind of. Can you just a little taste? Like,
I came in with my teeth guard and my boxing gloves on, bro. Come on, man.
I fucking hate the fact that I can pick up literally everything in this game, because as someone that is like literally like,
this is a Bethesda game.
That wants to overthink everything. I hate it. I don't know.
Your takes are terrible.
And I will say, I hate the fucking AI in this game. I think that the AI is absolutely, completely, and utterly atrocious. And to say, like, I will say again, okay, you're gonna say it's a Bethesda game, but at a certain point, I still expect, I still expect you to go and say, you know what? It's been you've done this for 20 years, right? Like
Yeah.
better, and like that's the part where I will say shame on the company. Because
no, I completely agree with you. 20-year-old tech
Yep.
should not be
me
still being
and
used in
Enigma
modern
have
games.
said it for so many years. They just need to drop the creation.
They need to get rid of it. Yeah, it's ridiculous that we're literally still playing games on a game engine that was running Fallout 3. Guys, like that was running Oblivion, actually. I think before that, like this is ridiculous.
I don't know, man. It's crazy, and I really do hope that Elder Scrolls 6, the rumors are true that it's going to be on Unreal Engine 5. Gosh,
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So my opinion on the whole thing, and I've watched a lot of content on it.
You're Sony, bro. You don't have an opinion, sir. No.
Okay, that's fair. You're absolutely correct.
No, continue.
No, please. Yes.
My opinion on it is this looks like it is not a step in like any positive direction from Fallout 4. This seems like they have stagnated as a company creatively. It seems like this isn't the show up that they needed post 76 downfall. This is not.
No, 100%.
This game feels like Fallout 4, but with a ship builder system that's actually really fucking cool. It's probably the best system in the game, in my opinion.
I think that's the most redeemable part of this game is like the ship building system.
The ship builder and the movement for me.
Yeah,
that does it. It's not a step from Fallout 4, but it is a step from Fallout 76. So it's okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, but I totally agree with you, Bill.
Yeah,
I would argue really quickly that it's like the people, you guys that are saying that like it's not a step forward for like the gaming franchise. I will 100% agree with you, but I think it is a little bit of a step forward. I think that they're finally starting to realize they can't continue on with the same bullshit that they've been pulling, right?
Are
they're trying.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm hoping because like the added.
I don't know about that.
the added stuff that we're seeing with like the ship customization, the push to at least try for something that they've never done before when it comes to like space combat and like the space simulation, quote unquote, air quote, right? I think that they're at least trying to push out of that. I just don't think they're doing it very successfully.
Yeah, I'll give it to you on the space combat aspect, but let's be perfecly honest with ourselves. This is the settlement builder system.
Oh yeah, 100%. No,
put into a
100%.
It's just chopped up and reimagined into a shipbuilder.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not arguing with you on that.
I think Bethesda is stagnated as a company when it comes to these style games. I don't know if they know how to properly innovate on the formula that they've already set out.
Yep.
And for better or worse, the community will buy this up just because they enjoy that formula.
Yeah. I don't know who would buy this game.
Now, I'm a bit more critical than Sin is on this game, actually, believe it or not. But I can't justify it too heavily because I have not played it. But from what I've watched firsthand, it almost seems like in some aspects a step backward from the company. When you have environments and worlds built up like what they did with Fallout 3 and Skyrim and Oblivion and stuff, the tile system like really irks me. And now the more that I learn about how that tile system works, the more irked I get because it is being locked down, one, because of the tech, but two, it seems like an arbitrary reason why they're locking it down.
This is a lazy.
I don't know why they couldn't. Yeah, because in all of
it's because they didn't want to put time into it. They didn't want to put time into actually procedurally generating an entire world. More than likely,
I don't know if they know. I don't know if they know how. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's that they don't know. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'm not sure if it's that they don't know how. I think it's that they don't know how to make it work on the creation engine.
Then at that point, and Bill, I'm gonna let you finish. But like in that point,
okay, Kanye.
I think that I think someone needs to go to Todd Howard and say, you putting us on this engine is hindering us more than this ideology of keeping it there. Like,
I'll be right back. I got some. I got
you, bro. Yeah, I've got here. I'm tight. You know, I'm putting in his number right now. Okay. Hey, Todd. Yeah. It's Enigma Pre-Patch Podcast. Yeah. I know. You're a big fan. Yeah. Sin says fuck you, and
I really
get rid of
do,
the
man.
get rid of the.
Yeah. I really do. Go ahead, Bill. Finish what you're saying, though.
I don't even remember where I was at.
Sorry.
But the tile system,
Yeah.
system, the fact that you can unlock it and you can actually like bounce from these tiles and stuff, I would rather them have put a fucking load screen on the edges of those tiles to move into the next
Even
tile.
so, just add, there's already an abundance of load screens. What's another one, man?
It would be one load screen as opposed to 4, because I counted it watching Byte. You're on a planet. You finish doing what you're doing. You get on your ship. That's a load screen. You get into the cockpit. That's a load screen. You fly off to like out into space to get an orbital on the planet. That's a load screen. And then you land back down on a different tile on the map. That is another load screen. Then you have to get off of your ship. That's a load screen. It's redundancy.
It's redundancy.
You're
beyond
load screens.
Whereas they could have very easily done it where you could walk to an edge of a tile, load into it, and move on. Now,
for sure.
I think the only reason they didn't do this is because then you'd have to load your screen your way back into it. It's weird, man.
Well,
it's a really weird like corner that they've kind of painted themselves into.
Yeah,
with this, especially considering the fact that there is no quick way of traversing any of these planets. If you had the ability to like quick hop in your ship from tile to tile, that would have been a fix that I would have been acceptable with, instead of having to go up into space and then land to a randomly given tile instead of like you can't even choose the tiles necessarily. I've seen videos with New Atlantis, right, where you're landing outside of New Atlantis. Sometimes you'll land in a spot and you can see like way off in the distance, you can barely see the city, right? Cool. That's immersion. You land in the exact same tile, like you load off another tile and then load back to that same tile. It gives you a tile. New Atlantis isn't anywhere in sight. It's weird, man.
And it's not even reachable. You can't even go to like you see it, but I don't think you can go there. You can't walk there.
And
no,
the sad,
you cannot.
The sad thing about this is that, and this is what I've been saying, and from the beginning, is that if this would have been dropped, if this game would have come out, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, right? Like, I think it would have easily have gotten, a 9, 8, 9 from, most people, because that we would not have known better, right? Like Fallout 4, no Fallout 76, and it was Starfield. Yeah, it would have been fucking rave reviews across the board. But that's what I'm saying. And post Cyberpunk, post No Man's Sky, the world of 2023 that gaming is right now, you dropping this. And then people being like, well, it works because it's working a lot better than most Bethesda games work. It's like, that's not an answer. Like, that's not an excuse. That's not okay. Like, it does, even like watching you play this, Scruffy, I'm watching like how the character like she walked into the elevator, stood still, didn't like naturally kind of turn around. It was like stood still and then just fucking rotated on an axis. It's crazy. And then also too, like our chat's kind of bringing up here, like I've said this from the very beginning. They know damn good and well that multiplayer is something that people have asked for fucking ever since Skyrim. Why the fuck did they not? I mean, I know why, because again, the creation engine, but like, why the fuck did you not do multiplayer? Like in this game where you've got shipbuilding, you're going to show this stuff off. You're going to make like, come on. Like, I don't, it just,
the development window, I definitely think is something that companies are struggling with entirely. Like Final Fantasy 16 had the same issue. It had an extremely long development time, and playing as heavily into the tropes of like Game of Thrones as it did with its plot and stuff, the development kind of pushed it outside of the window where that was like the thing.
Right.
And I think this is also kind of feeling that too.
You have to, like, as a developer, you have to say, okay, cool. You're not like, they developed for the current time frame and landscape that they were in when they started, not trying to figure out what would be 10 years into, which again, I know is crazy to say, but like you want to try to be like, okay, cool. What am I going to be seeing, 5 years in the future? What is tech going to, like, what am I going to try to do 5 to 10 years in the future? And if you're developing in the here and now, and that's where your game is going to be based, well, then it's going to be rated and looked at as a 10-year-old game. And that's where I think this falls into. again, keeping in mind that I think why Bethesda people are loving it so much is because, well, their last game that they got was 76, and that was a hot piece of trash, right? You have not had a good game since New Vegas, you know? So like
there was a low bar to step over, man.
Very low bar.
So
very low bar. So,
and again, what works, and it still like it's fine. That's why I'm not like shilling against it so like hardly, but I still think that like this is more of my outcry against Todd.
Wait, you're shilling?
Against
you're shilling
against
for Bethesda?
Against
oh, he said he's shilling for Bethesda, boys.
I am going hard against directors and things like that, like Todd Howard and executives that think that they know better. Because I guarantee you that somebody within Bethesda, somebody somewhere said, "Hey, this is probably needs to like we could do better. Can we talk about this?" And they got told no. Like they got told no.
I guarantee Phil Spencer was the one who said that because he was the reason that they had to delay it for a year to quality of life change it.
You're saying that Phil Spencer was the one telling them no?
I think Phil Spencer, if this game had released when it originally wanted to release, it would have been a steaming pile.
That would have been a fucking joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been
and I think
76
Phil
all over
Spencer
again.
and the Xbox team saw this and were like, okay, we cannot stamp our name to this. We need the development time.
So here's a quick question.
Here's that the entire reason for the delay, like the entire delay window, the game was pretty well gold at that point, but it was all quality of life.
So here's a quick question for you, and I just want to get like a quick answer from each of you. Because my opinion is it's better than what they released prior, right? And not like the recent releases for like Bethesda, but like it's better than Redfall. Right, like in my opinion, this game is a far shadow from Redfall. Right,
yeah.
What do you guys think that this is the win that Bethesda and Microsoft needed? Like to overshadow that?
It sold the most Bethesda copies, so I think they're taking a win.
No. You're. It has the most Bethesda players. They have not released sales figures yet because Game Pass is involved. Okay. So it has the most people playing it at launch out of a Bethesda game, which I think it's sitting at 6 million players currently.
6 million. Like that's the stats
as of 5 hours ago, they passed 6 million Starfield players. They have not released actual sales numbers because Xbox doesn't care about hard sales. They care about.
Well, you can kind of gauge the sales at least off of like Steam, for instance. Like I think that I had posted something that was like 3 million within the first like couple of days, just off of those $100 pre-orders.
I mean, I'm also not a proponent of sales figures being because we live in a state now of games as a service that are provided on PlayStation Plus, Game Pass,
right,
EA, whatever else. So I don't know if sales
alternatives
numbers are the right
metric
to look at it.
Like I said, like do you guys feel coming out of Redfall? Do you guys feel like this is a win for Microsoft?
To answer your question, I will say that is this the win that they needed? I'm not going to say that. I think that this is this is still a win because Microsoft and Bethesda, and I'll just say this, Microsoft, I'll screw all Bethesda. Microsoft has not really had a win in a long time. And I think that this at least is a positive. It's not a negative. No,
I don't think
this is still a very big name title that they scored, right?
Right. So, is this going to win Game of the Year? No, go ahead, Bill.
No.
What I'm curious about is how this is going to affect console sales and how it's going to affect Game Pass subscriptions, because I think that's what the big factors that Xbox was needing for this to hit. If it wasn't going to sell consoles,
Game Pass for sure.
It's going to sell Game Pass.
The reason I'm bringing that up is because we have 6 million players right now. There are 25 million Game Pass subscriptions active as of January last year. So there's or June last year. So there's probably more of them now than there were back then. That on top of Steam purchases and standard like Xbox purchases, do you think that is a good metric for where it's at? Considering any of those 25 million plus could pick up this game and play it at any time and factor into being one of those 6 million players.
Yes, because I do think that, take me as an example. If we did not have this show, I would not have picked up and played that game at all. So like I am one of like so as a I will take the show out of the equation and say that I'm one of those ones with a Game Pass subscription that would have never touched Starfield.
Right.
Does that mean that Starfield is because it only hit, if 6 million totals are players, how many are on Steam? How many users are on Steam?
I don't think they broke
I
down
can
look at
the
Steam
6
charts.
million.
check it. Yeah, I'm checking it right now. Starfield currently has, as of 9 minutes ago or 6 minutes ago, 209,718, with an all-time peak of 216,772.
Okay, so let's just say 220,000. So 220,000 people.
Very low percentage
Right,
of the 6 million.
So we'll say that let's say 2 million purchased the game and the other 2 million or 3 million or whatever else are Game Pass. I think that that's fine for them. I think that they look at that as saying it's a win. Like it's great.
Yeah.
So I don't think that trying to say that I don't know if there's going to be ever a game that's going to capture anywhere close to all 25 million or a shred of 25 million.
Right.
Because I don't know what the fuck that would even be.
It's also weird that earlier in the week, I think it was yesterday before the full game launched, they or when the full game launched, Phil Spencer, I think, was retweeted, or maybe it was the Starfield official. They were hyping up the 1 million concurrent players across PC and Xbox. Like, I feel like that's a weird metric to be propping up as well.
I mean,
in the early access,
after this was like the day of official release.
Oh,
I think hitting 1 million people live on launch or players on anything, regardless,
it's a pretty big deal for any game. I think
is still big, and
it is.
So I think like
I'm not impressed as much by that metric though, as I would rather see hard sales figures. I would rather see like sales figures broken up or player figures broken up by Game Pass sub and hard copy sales, and then you can split it up even more by which device they're doing it on, whether it's Xbox consoles or PC.
Yeah,
but
I would like to see those metrics.
Considering games like Hogwarts, I think its peak concurrent player base on Steam alone was close to 900,000. Baldur's Gate, same thing, around like mid 850 to 900,000. There's a lot of games that on single consoles or single setups have gotten close to that 1 million.
So Hogwarts Legacy all-time peak was 527,000, and I think Baldur's Gate was like 875.
It was high. It was up there.
Yeah.
I mean,
which funny metric, as of 24 hours ago, Baldur's Gate 3 was at 363,375 people on Steam,
which is wild considering
that's crazy. Yeah.
But and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm not particularly impressed with that number, considering the scope of some of the third-party games that have come out. And I wonder how much this has actually hindered the reach of the game if it had remained a third-party product.
Okay.
They would have had more people.
Yeah, they would
have had more sales because they would have had an entire friend user base buying it. But
I think also yes, I agree with you, Bill, on saying that it is hindered because it is locked down.
That's gonna be a first party,
right? Anything. I mean, we look at God of War. We look at
you can say the same thing about God of War, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I think
is good enough trade, I guess, is the better thing. Like,
I think 100% it's a good enough trade. I think
for Microsoft, absolutely. I think for Microsoft to look at this, they finally looked at the Bethesda purchase and said, okay, like
we're finally going to get some money out of this.
This stamps the approval that we
to
got.
To quickly answer your question, Enigma, I think it was a win.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it was a huge win for him. I don't know if it was as big of a win as I was hoping that they would have, but for sure, I think it was a huge win for Xbox for sure.
Yeah. And the other last thing that I'll say on this, and we need to move on, is that the the amount that this game could have come out as a steaming hot pile of fucking ass garbage and not work, not do, like, just be complete, just
it launched in a pretty fair state.
trash.
Yeah.
The fact that it didn't, like, I will put that in I'll give you kind of like a pat on the back, being like, because that's
you shouldn't have to, though.
Right. I know that's what I'm saying. I'm not giving you a thumbs up. I'm giving you all right, pat on the back. Like, you didn't release a hot fucking like it blows my mind that Bethesda, is known for releasing hot garbage, is this massive company that got bought for $7 billion. Like, I'm like, if that's the case, shit, man, I got 2 kids that produce shit all the time. Y'all want to buy them for fucking, I'll sell them to you for cheap. I'm not condoning selling your kids.
Wow.
Don't do that.
Wow.
It took a turn.
By the way. Anyway.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Thank you for checking out the patch notes. If you enjoyed this small selection from our podcast, come join us every Thursday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern for the full unfiltered pre-patch podcast. And check out our past shows on anchor.fm/prepatch podcast.